What's up? What's up? It's been a long time since I've done a live like this before. Gosh, it's got to be about a couple months or so. So, hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. Let's see if I can see anything. Okay, cool. Awesome. So, I actually intentionally set this live to go at 5:34. Now, if you're in California, it's 5:34. If you're anywhere else in the world, well, anywhere else besides the West Coast, it's not 5:34. But for me here, where I personally sit in California, it is 5:34 p.m. And the reason for that is 5:34 is a very significant number for me, and I'm going to get into all of that. But I had a lot of people asking me, a lot of people knew I recently went to Puerto Rico. If you followed any of my stories, you probably saw that I was in Puerto Rico if you didn't know that I was going. But I had an opportunity to speak at an event in front of hundreds of thousands, hundreds, not thousands. And one day it will be thousands of people, but hundreds of different entrepreneurs, either in the health and wellness space or doing other businesses are impacting the world. So the Guardians Annual Retreat is the event that I spoke at. And that is all about creating health, wealth, and impact. Because if you don't have your health, you can't create wealth and therefore can't make an impact in the world. And a dear friend of mine, Dr. Thaddeus Gala, who I will give a shout out here, that is his event. He curated this group called the Guardians. He has an amazing team of people around him that help him pull things off like this. And the Guardians, I've been to tons and tons and tons of different business retreats and business events. I've never been to anything like this before. I have connected with some incredible, amazing human beings as a result. And this was not an event where you sit with your notebook and, just writing notes with, a speaker and a slide. This is about human connection, about growing, evolving, and really making a difference in the world. So it was an incredible event. On that note, I do want to tell people I've had a handful of people asking me how my talk went. And so I think for those of you who don't know, I just want to spend a few moments just talking about the whole process. So I was one of 9 people who were selected to give a Guardians X talk. So in their format, it was kind of like a TEDx talk where we were given 10 minutes to present an idea. We had to go through an entire application process to get selected. I was one of the one other female besides myself were selected to give a talk. So shout out to my girl Tressa. Her and I were the female power houses up on stage. So got selected to give the talk. And then over the course of the 6 weeks leading up to the event, I was on like a 90-minute speaker training call with 2 amazing, incredible trainers. One that worked with the Tony Robbins organization, and another that does like a lot of events himself and does a lot of speaking. Very high energy, very incredible human beings that were really helping us formulate and put these ideas into practice, giving us the framework that we needed to take big, long talks that some of us might have been used to or might be used to giving, right? I do long form podcasts or semi long form, like 30 minutes per episode ish. And so condensing things into a 10-minute talk is a lot more challenging. And so over the course of the 6 weeks, I was on these training calls, and then I separately was working with, and still am, a voice coach that was helping me work through my highs and lows, valleys, and getting different pauses and points in place that were necessary to really get this idea and this message across. Now, my talk was all about, are you overfilling your tank? And so without giving the whole talk here, I'll just give you a premise. The talk was about this notion and this idea that we are throwing so much at the body, in the body, and around the body, hoping for it to function better, work better, and heal better. Whether that be our exercise, whether that be our supplements or our food or our water even. Like sometimes you can overdo it with water. You flush good white blood cells out of your body if you're drinking more water than is actually necessary for your body. So we know there's a lot of noise in the health space. We know there's tons of different gurus talking about all these things that you can be doing for your health or to improve it. And it's not beneficial necessarily to you as a whole. So that was the premise of my talk. And I was, started out with the idea about like overfilling your gas tank. You would never want to do that in your actual vehicle because you can cause damage to the car. You can cause damage to the gas station and anybody else around you. Why are we doing it to our bodies? I shared a few patient stories and whatnot. That was the premise of my talk. I knew my talk inside and out. I still know it. I could potentially do it here for you on that Facebook Live, but I don't think that that is what people are here to watch this video for. I really want to instill in you the 3 lessons that I took away from that entire experience, the experience that I went through over the last 2 months or so. So 5:34, what is the significance of starting this Facebook Live, YouTube Live at 5:34? Is that is the amount of time on the clock that I looked down, and my 10-minute clock was right in front of me as I was standing on that stage giving my presentation. 5 minutes and 34 seconds, I looked down and the clock was 5:34. Now, what happened from 10-minute countdown to the moment of 5:34 was this. I got up on that stage. I was a little nervous to begin with before I got up on stage. Before I was like, when I was sitting in the audience and watching all of the rest of the cohort go through their talks, I'm like, heart's beating naturally, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing a Jeremy Eugene Wilson and a Tom McCarthy move where they're like, transfer that energy into excitement. So I'm transferring that energy into excitement. I'm, getting ready. I'm like, I'm so excited for this. I was born for this. I'm ready. When I got introduced and I got up there on stage, I was totally in my element. It felt so amazing. It felt incredible to just be able to be there with these people, not for all this light and fame and everything on me, but being able to present an idea such as this to this audience. So I'm standing on stage and I do my opening line and I go through it. I have to preface this really briefly. Earlier in the day before, and then earlier in presentations Tuesday, because I gave this talk Tuesday night on 4/26, April 26, Tuesday night. Earlier during that day and Monday sessions, I heard a lot of other speakers, seasoned speakers, getting up there and kind of giving their talks based off bullet points. So they were shooting off the cuff based off these bullet points. So I said, you know what? I want a little bit of spice in my talk, and I don't want it to sound so rehearsed and so mundane or so monotonous in the sense of tone. Well, looking back on the whole experience, having worked with the vocal delivery coach in highs and lows and with my expressive personality, I don't know why I got caught in my mind that I had to do this, because even though it was rehearsed and really well written out and done, I had the highs and lows there. There were no issues with that. So something psychologically got into my mind and kind of messed me up. Now, I was going, and then I ad-libbed a portion about like 30 or 45 seconds in. Don't even really know. I felt like time kind of was flying by, but then slowing down all at the same time, which is a weird dichotomy to be in. So I'm presenting, I ad-lib, I lose my place in my speech, that first ad-lib. Pick myself up, which kind of felt like 1 or 2 seconds. Picked myself up, kept going. Ad-libbed another portion, lost my place, kept going. Ad-libbed another portion, lost my place, kept going. Ad-libbed a 4th time and really lost my place. And this one took me a lot longer to recover from. So when I titled this Facebook Live series or this talk, Falling But Not Failing, I fell metaphorically to my face in that moment. Now, mind you, 5 speakers have just gone before me, 5 people in my cohort that have been working just as diligently as I had on our talks had just gone before me. I was number 6. They nailed their talks, nailed it. And I sat there, standing up there, and I'm looking around the room, silent. No words, no nothing, silent. What was going on in my mind was I was looking for my next line. Was I in this talk? Where was I in the speech? And I sat there and I'm looking around the room. I'm looking down at my feet. I turn to look over my left shoulder and I'm like looking at the staircase. I'm like, I could potentially just walk down the stairs, but something kept me there. And I stood there and I looked. The audience was cheering. The audience was like, you got this, Brooke. Come on, come on, come on. You got this. And I know, like, I really appreciate the support because that was an incredible audience to give a talk like that in front of, and to be so supported and to be so loved on, and just, you got this, keep going, keep going. And I looked down at the clock in front of me, and 5 minutes and 34 seconds still remained. And I said to myself, not out loud, but I looked down at the clock and I like pulled myself together and I gave the rest of my talk, not speeding it up like insanely crazy, not doing any, trying to like just regurgitate a bunch of stuff. I did no more ad-libbing. I finished the talk brilliantly. And I say brilliantly because I didn't race through it like I could have, looking at 5 minutes and 34 seconds. But the good thing is, as a 10-minute talk, I buffered in about like 7:45-ish. So I had a couple minutes to have those little flub ups. Not that I was expecting those to happen. So that's the experience for those of you who have wanted to know what this experience was like, or like how I did with this talk. And I was literally, the person on stage before we went was Gary V. Gary Vaynerchuk spoke at this event to all these entrepreneurs. I got my picture taken with him. I got to have a little, tiny connection with him. He was on that stage moments before we were even on that stage. So to say that I stood on a stage with Gary V is cool. It's really fun. But more importantly, I think the biggest lesson that I gained, or like the thing that I want to impart with you all today, is these 3 lessons. The first one is, when you get off track, you need to just find your place and continue to go. This is not in the realm of giving talks, although it can be, like giving speeches to live audiences and having all those eyeballs looking at you. But this is not about just that. When you get off track or you lose your place in life, it's a time for you to like quiet down, figure out where you're at, figure out where you're going, and move towards that goal. Continue, pull yourself up if you've fallen, and pick yourself up and continue to keep going. That is one of the lessons that I learned. The second one is, feel your feelings. Feel all of them. Feel them. This is not about stuffing feelings down or not experiencing them, because I will tell you, after I gave that talk and Dr. Thaddeus Gala was running up the stage as I was walking down, he's like, stay up there, Brooke, stay up there. I'm like, oh my God, I still have to stay up here after I humiliated myself up here. But he had me stand up there and he said, how amazing was Dr. Brooke, that she pushed through, that she still had the courage to stand up here and do what she did despite falling on her face. Well, he didn't say that. That's my words. But despite, what happened, she still stood here. And everybody applauded, standing ovation. It was incredible. It was incredible. But I wasn't receiving that in that moment. I did not receive that at that moment. I wanted to run in shame. Even though I didn't run off the stage when I was giving the talk, I wanted to run in shame. I wanted to hide. I didn't want to be part of the environment in that moment. I put my happy face on. I smiled. I thanked everybody. But one of the things Thaddeus says a lot is, and I remember this when I first met him in 2016, and it was a couple phone calls in, we had connected, and he had told me on one of our calls, he says, Brooke, I was shy. I was super introvert. I wanted to put myself out there more. I wanted to be more active on social media. I wanted to do these things that I knew, that I've known, that I've been born for. But it's part of me was dying inside, and I would just hold myself back. And he told me so many times, you do not earn the luxury of confidence until you move through courage. You do not earn the luxury of confidence until you're willing to be courageous, said a little differently. And in that moment, that was me earning some confidence in that courageous moment. But when I say lesson 2, to feel your feelings, have the moment where you're having the moment in front of people like I did, thank you and smiling and, got off the stage. But I will tell you, when Jeremy Eugene Wilson gave me a hug backstage and said, "You did amazing," one of my speaker coaches, "You did amazing, you did amazing," waterworks. I was full on in tears, and I was like holding them back. I kept dabbing my eyes, like really trying to like look up to the ceiling, like not focus on it, because I did not want to cry. I did not want to cry in that moment because I still had to function and still had to be a part of the whole thing, the whole production. And there was still 4 other incredible people in my cohort that I wanted to be a part of, that I wanted to support, that I wanted to listen to, that I wanted just to love on. And so Jeremy and Tom, both Jeremy and Tom and Tressa, incredible human beings, just loving on me backstage and just telling me, like, it's okay. But the tears were coming because I felt like I let Jeremy down. I felt like I let Tom down. I felt like I let Thaddeus down. I feel like Thaddeus pushed a lot of his chips in on me and said, "Hey, I'm going to give you this stage. I'm going to give you this opportunity. Run with it." And I feel like I let him down. Now, that was my own negative thinking. That wasn't really actually what happened. Obviously, none of those guys felt like I let them down. And in the grand scheme of things, one of the things Tressa said to me was, "You broke the sound barrier. You broke the sound barrier to show people what is possible." So feel those feelings. When I had those tears and they were asking me, "How are you going to be like move forward with this?" Like you are made to speak. You are made to be out there. You are made to like get your message out to the world. Jeremy, Tom, all of these people telling me this, they said, like, you need to just continue. You just need to pick yourself up and go. And I said, you know what I need to do right now? Like, I know for me, I just need to have a good, ugly cry by myself. I need to cry, like ugly cry, like sobbing. I couldn't do that in the room with all those people there. I couldn't have that moment. But I did have that moment in the hotel room the next morning where I just sobbed my eyes out and I just cried. And I picked myself up after I had nothing left. And I showed face out there for the rest of the event with all the people, and the amount of outpouring of love and showers and everything that I got as a result was absolutely breathtaking and amazing. And I can't ask for a better experience. Despite what happened, despite all of the ugly tears and everything, the connections that I made with people, and the people that said, "You literally made a major, like, you inspired me. You inspired me to find my own voice, to like put myself out there more, to share with the world what I have to offer." And it gives me goosebumps right now. I can't even fathom like what, like, I'm like, but it's just little old me. Like, and so much of my thought process has always been, it's just little old me. And I'm here to tell you that if you're feeling like it's just little old you, or you're feeling like you're not making the impact that you've been created to make, really like take to heart what I'm saying here, because honestly, if I can go out there and flub in front of some incredible human beings that I look up to like massively, and people that are like running with celebrities and stars and all that, sitting in the front row, and I'm like making myself look like a fool, but I can inspire others to find their voice, and I can be the one to like lead them to their light, that's incredible. You need to be the light for others in your world. And then the third thing is really just being willing to shift. Like being willing to shift. My whole message that I went out there with, the overfilling your gas tank and doing these things, for your health and improving, and really talking about to people about what I do as a practitioner, dynamic system analysis, and being able to communicate with the human body and have that dialogue, that message was lost. I'm going to be honest with you, that message was lost. There was a complete loss of message in my blubbing up, but the shift happened as a result of me still showing up and then giving other people the courage they needed and inspiration they needed to do what I did, to show up in the way that I did, vulnerable, holding it together, but still very raw and real. And that was a beautiful, beautiful thing, because you know what? Like, I know the doctor or the health aspect of my health or of my talk got lost. I had so many amazing connections with people that I probably never would have connected with at the event had I not done what I did. And then we got to talking about blockchain and crypto and like all these like really exciting things that you guys know that I nerd out about, because it's like so freaking passionate about this space. So be willing to shift. So in closing, the top 3 lessons, or the lessons that I really want you to take away from this overall premise: falling is not failing. Just because you fall, you have not failed if you decide you're going to get back up again and you're going to shift. So 3 lessons. 1, when you get off track, find your place and continue to go. Find your place and continue to go. Second lesson that I talked about is feel those feelings and then release them. So if it means that you've fallen and you feel like a fool and you want to have that deep, ugly cry like I did, have that cry and then pick yourself up and keep going. It's not about ruminating and feeling bad about yourself the whole time. And I remember one of the things Jeremy said to me at the end, Jeremy Eugene Wilson, he said, "Brooke, I am so amazed with how fast you've recovered." And a big part of that is a huge testimony to the inner work that I've done over the years to get me out of that rumination phase, because I would have been ruminating over and over and over. And I said, you know what? It happened. There's a reason. Everything happens for a reason. I am a total believer in that. And the beautiful connections came out as a result of that. And then number 3, be willing to shift. Be willing to shift. It doesn't have to be so hard line in the sand one way or another. I had a talk about health, and it shifted to having massive connections with people over blockchain and crypto and NFTs and bringing people onto the podcast. So stay tuned for some incredible, amazing episodes. I love you guys. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for watching. Just so much love, so much gratitude. My heart is so full. I just have the most incredible life experience and the most incredible, amazing people to share it with. So I love you all. And until next time, I will talk to you soon.